Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Classic Arcade Repairs. Today I have a super punch-out board set. In we're joining this one in progress. The only thing that I have done on this, let's back up. When I first got this out of the box and hooked it up, it was completely dead. Didn't do anything. So the first thing that I did was I decided to check all of the software. So I got my programmer out. I dumped all of the software, every chip. And what I found was the four 2764 program ROMs are all bad. Internally, they just return random junk every time you try to read them. So I programmed a new set of the 2764 program ROMs. The 27128 that is in 8F was okay. 6P, the EEPROM for the speech data, the EEPROM seemed to be good because it would, when I dumped it, it would give me the same thing over and over again, but it wasn't the correct super punch out file. So I just erased that chip and I was able to reprogram it with the proper data file. 4K for the music EEPROM, I dumped that one. That one was fine. The video board, there were two that were bad. 2R and 2U did not have the correct super punch out files on them. I tried erasing them and they would erase but would not reprogram. So these two were bad. I had to replace those 128s. The Challenger ROMs, those four, those are good. They came up to punch out. There is a super punch out version of that, but I don't think it really matters. I think you can have the original punch out player ROMs in there and it's fine. So I'm just leaving those. I dumped the four ROMs on this backboard, and once again, like 6P on the CPU board, they would give me the same data every time that I dumped them. So I know that the chips themselves are not internally damaged like that. But they were not super punch out files. They weren't even punch out files. So I don't know what was on those. But so I did burn a set of super punch out ROMs for this board, and I have those in here. Now I am erasing currently right now. I'm erasing the four that were in here because I believe that I can save the customer some money and reuse their EEPROMs because I think they're good. So I'm going to try just reprogramming the original ROMs with the proper super punch out code, and I'll erase these and put them back in my stock. So, but these 6 EEPROMs right here are guaranteed bad. And these remain to be seen, the ones that I'm erasing right now. If I can't reprogram them, then those are going to be deemed bad too, and I'll just leave these in here. And of course, I'll have to charge for these 4 ROMs. I'm trying to save the customer some money because EEPROMs are not cheap, you know. So, okay. But that's where we're at. And we went from completely dead, doing nothing, to with going through the EEPROMs. Now I'll show you where we're at once I fire it up. Okay. You'll be able to see here on the Nintendo monitor, we have, it's prompting me, it must be on free play or whatever. It's prompting me to start the timer. So I'll start the timer and you can see it's counting down here. Okay. Now here's Bear Hugger. So we have two things going on here. We have lines going through the Bear Hugger. The Challenger, the green grid guy, he looks perfect, no problem. We haven't moved him around yet to make sure that the movement is proper. But Bear Hugger has those lines going through. And my guess is that's EEPROM socket. I know that the EEPROMs are good because I just got done testing them all and making sure they were all good. So my guess is that is a bad socket. And then we have backboard issues. Now if I set this down and let's switch over to the back PCB. That's I just have to switch over like so. Okay. Now we're set up to the upper monitor. And yeah, you can see this is really messed up. We have color issues. We have graphics issues. Scrambled. And we got some serious problems going on here. The color palette issues could just be a mix match of ROM, the bipolar ROMs. It could also just be bad. They could be bad. EF, EF, EF. But we definitely have issues on this board. I will also say I did put the fluke on this, and I can properly read the backboard RAMs. I can reach all of the RAM on this. So I know it's not the RAM, and it's not decoding to the RAM. It's some logic other than that. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is work on getting the lines out of our opponent. And that's on this board, this middle board. That big bank of ROM there is all the data for the Challenger or the Champion or whoever, you know, the Bear Hugger and all them characters. So there's got to be something. I think it's just a bad socket, a bad connection with one of the ROMs. So I'll open this up and we'll take care of that first. Okay, yeah, I just flipped it over and reset, put the dip switches all down so that it'll cycle through the it'll cycle through this. Yeah. You can see these are the EEPROMs that I burnt. I had to replace those 4. I had to erase and reprogram this guy. And that was it. Yeah, this one was fine, and this one was fine. So I'll go ahead, turn this back over now that I got this to where it's actually doing this. Yeah, the backboard's got issues. For sure. But yeah, let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I just reset all of the EEPROMs, and my guess is it's not going to make a difference. I'm starting to think this may not be a video board problem. It still could be, but I'm kind of suspecting the backboard for all of this. Yeah, he's still got the lines going on. No, that's got to be the video board. It has to be this board. I'm gonna continue to think that it's this board, but I don't think it's. I think it's something logical. I don't think it's the ROM itself. I really don't. So I think I will start just kind of poking around the latches and stuff like that. It's not the RAM because I can read the RAM. Fine, it's not RAM. So I'm gonna start with the data latches out of the ROMs. You know, just kind of start poking around all of that circuitry. So I'll do that, and I'll report back if I find anything cool. All right, we're working on this. The thing with the lines through the through Bear Hugger, and I just had the suspicion that it's in the data out circuit, where the data flows out through these 151 selectors and selects these bits. I just have a feeling that the fault is in the 151. So what I've done, and you can see these banks, this is the 2 bank, the 3 bank, and the 4 bank. And what I've done is just kind of isolated the banks, removed all of the chips, and then I just started populating them one at a time and watching what the screen did. I've got 3 and 4 completely populated right now. 3 and 4. And what's cool about this and makes it kind of easy is these banks are all independent. See, it's got its own latch, it's got its own 151 selecting the bit to put out and send up to the to be displayed onto the monitor. This bank, and this bank each produce a bit. And just those 2 banks, you'll see once it gets back around to the Bear Hugger screen, yeah, Bear Hugger is incomplete because we're missing a bank of ROMs, but there's no lines in what is displayed on the screen, which tells me that the problem is in this bank, the 2 bank. See, we'll get back around to it any second. Should be right here, yeah, Bear Hugger coming up. See, if you look at him, there's no lines through him now. He's incomplete, yes, but there's no lines. In the minute that I put one of these ROMs in, because right now all that's being pumped out of here is FF. So basically everything's off. So that's why there's no color, there's no lines. But if I take and I put, let's start with 2R. Take 2R and pop in here. And now just with that one EEPROM, you'll probably see lines now. Once we get to it again. And we're coming around. It's getting there. Bear Hugger. Still no lines. See that? There's still no lines. So we're just going to keep popping in EEPROMs until the lines show up. That's R. Here's T. Still no lines. And here's U. Still no lines. Well, this might have just been a bad socket, guys. And here's V. which bad sockets was my original thought. So I'm going to let it cycle back through and I'll come back and we'll see if Bear Hugger's lines are gone. It looks like it might have just been bad socket. Yeah, there's no more lines. He looks perfect now. And unfortunately, I don't have a good way of knowing which socket that was. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it and yeah. But it was just a socket issue. Now our problems are this backboard. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get to that. And I guess the first thing that I should have done was dump the bipolar ROMs and make sure that they're good. And I do still have those EPROMs erasing, which they are done erasing now. So I'm going to try programming those and see what we get. Okay, well, I have gone and set this board set back to punch out. I had to replace the CPU socket that the this board right here plugs into, the security board. I had to replace the socket because I just wanted to run this as punch out. And a CPU will not work in this because it's you know, it's bowed out. But I can use this and plug this into my new socket and then plug the board into this so it won't ruin the socket that's in the board. This one's already ruined, but this will plug into my socket nicely. So, but yeah, I went and because I wanted to have this at a known state and eliminate that security card because I know that security card can cause problems. Now I have this right now on the bottom monitor and the colors are wrong, yes, because these bipolar ROMs for the upper monitor are programmed for 153s here. This has 353s in it, so the colors are actually inverted. But I'm looking for, is it correct? Is everything correct? Are the graphics correct? And they are. You know, the colors, it is what it is. The colors you have to burn different EPROMs or different bipolar ROMs for it. Or swap out the 353s for 153s, which is probably what I would do if when I run into this kind of an issue. I would rather use LS153s instead of using 82S131 bipolar ROMs. Yeah. So this is perfect. Looks good, how it should. And let me go ahead and go away for a minute and I'll come back with the upper monitor on. Okay, and here's the upper monitor. You can see it works perfectly. The characters are not all garbled up and scrambled up. It works just fine. And this one actually has the correct bipolar ROMs in it, so the colors are not inverted, they're right. Yeah, that's just it's a mess with these punch out boards. They were never really standardized. They made them in a few different flavors. And you know, you just got to know what you got. But yeah, this works fine. Looks good. And this is actually, I have a punch out set. And this is my punch out board. That's what I did. I wanted to make it back to punch out. And this is my punch out board. Why do I have I'd have to swap these two chips right? No, I'd have to swap I have to swap these four. These four need to be turned into 153. This is my board. Yeah, it's got the string on it. This one's mine from my punch-out set. Yeah, so this is the customer's actual video and CPU board. And what I did is I took all of my punch-out EEPROMs out of my set and put in here. I actually had to burn a few of them. I was missing a few. And I put my program ROMs in the CPU board. And I had to replace the socket so that I could just pop a Z80 in it. That's what it is. So the system is running on my board, with my backboard, which I've got the incorrect ROMs in there for whatever reason. That makes no sense. So anyway, what I wanted to do here was deduce what is actually wrong with his set. And it's his backboard, which is right here. This is his back PCB. So in theory, this is set up exactly like mine is. It's the exact same circuit as mine. So in theory, if I just take these chips out and put them into here, I should get the exact same as what I'm getting here. This is what I should see. These are both 01. They're both 2764. 01, 01. They both use 2764. So that's what I'll do, is I'll swap these, all the chips, and see what we get. And you remember, both the bottom monitor and the top monitor, the graphics are correct with this board on here. The graphics are actually correct. The colors are wrong on the bottom monitor, and that's just these ROMs. That's all that is. Okay, this is customer's board back on. I put all the chips that were in my board in here. And the only thing that wasn't done on this board that I did was this mod that almost every punch-out board that I've ever seen on the Revision 01s has had that mod. This one didn't, so I went ahead and did it. Just kind of cut that trace and run a jumper and then pull that pin high on 5J. Or, yeah, 5J. Pull that pin 1 high. And this is the failure on the bottom monitor, is the background is completely jacked up. Now I will go away really quick. I'll come back and we'll look at the top monitor and you'll see it is fine. And here's the top monitor. You can see it's not garbled. It looks like it should. So the top monitor circuitry is fine. It is just the background that is laid behind the action on the lower monitor is no good. I don't know, it's just easier to fix this on a punch out than it is on a super punch out. If you remember with the super punch out, these two guys were completely garbled up. And I believe that the background looked okay on the lower monitor. It was just the garbled graphics up here. It's just that security card changes the way stuff is done. I don't understand what that security board on Super Punch-Out does, but it changes the way the system runs somehow. I don't know. It's easier to fix a punch-out, that's for sure. Because I know this is just the circuitry on the background PCB that generates the background for the lower monitor. It's really that simple. But this thing completely threw me off because it didn't have that symptom when it was super punch out. Super weird. Super weird. So I want to get this thing fixed 100% working as punch out, and then it should work 100% as super punch out. It's that simple. So that's what I want to do. And I did run into one other thing that was weird on the super punch out set, and I had to keep this in the back of my mind. On the super punch out ROMs that go right here, 5 of them were one version, and the last one was like a different version. So if my colors are not correct, I'm going to go back and look at that, and I might have to burn one of these. Maybe, I don't know yet. I'll wait until I get there. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and look at the back PCB schematic, and it's got to be stuff that is being pumped onto the lower monitor, so some of the circuitry has to come over here. So we'll look at the schematic and find out what circuitry from over here is getting pumped over to the upper monitor circuitry. And it's 6:30. It's 6:30, so I think I'm going to call it a night. We'll get back to working on this thing tomorrow. See you then. Turning on the little scope. Good morning. Monday morning. And I took yesterday off. I didn't look at any of this stuff on Sunday. So I had to look at my last video, and see where I was. And we are having issues on this backboard for the background of the lower monitor. And we see that here. Yeah, so I just turned on the little scope. I'm going to do some poking around, and we'll just look at some. Now remember, I do remember that I can, with the Fluke, I was able to do my RAM tests on these RAM without issue. So it's not the RAM. It's got to be probably these 367s, which the addressing comes into, or something like that. But our top monitor is good. Everything on the top monitor is good. So actually, I'm going to start with the lower monitor circuitry and find out what is muxed into this lower monitor circuitry. So that's where we can look first. Okay, from looking at that, we have, this is our 4 353s. That's the lower monitor. Okay. We have Challenger and Champ. That's the two characters on the that's your Green Grid guy and like Glass Joe. And then you have a couple bits going there and there, right? That come from this. I can't see this very good. Come from this mux. And goes all the way down to this 148 as inputs as well. And $398, which is output. Those must take turns on this, getting into this. Two outputs, two different output sources. Output source here, output source here. Yeah, so those must... What's this MC, I wonder? Yeah, it's going to be something along that line. We have our ROMs here, and we can check. I know that the addressing to the ROMs is from the RAM. It actually is from these counters. The RAM input the counters, and then the counters make the address, it looks like. So I'm going to start. Let's start with post ROM. Let's start after the ROM and just start probing outputs of these various chips. And even the muxes might possibly be bad. I doubt it. I doubt that it's the muxing. I think it's something leading up to the muxing. Could be something corrupting, like this could be corrupting something, you know, who knows, really, honestly. So we'll just get the scope out and kind of probe around. I'm going to probe around that kind of stuff, and when I find something, I'll let you know. Okay, well, after looking at the schematic, I realized that Nintendo made a change on the board. This is a 378. See this? The only time that they have that mod done is when there's a 174 in the place of the 378. So I had to undo the mod and put it back to the way it was. And it's fine. So now we have a perfectly fine punch-out set. Top and bottom monitor. Yeah, see, this is the other backboard. And this is the one that has that mod on it. And this chip right here is a 174. And they have pin 1 tied high. Which, what is pin 1 doing here? Yeah. Oh, that's not the right chip. Okay. Pin 1 on this one. This is the enable line. So if that line is pulled high on a 174, that doesn't really make any sense. Because a 174 looks like the same 3 out to 2. 14 to 15, 4 to 5, 3 to 12, 6 to 7, 11 to 10. It looks like the same pinout, but pin 1 is a completely different function. Pin 1 on a 174 is a clear, not enable. So is it supposed to be continuously enabled as a 174, but not? I don't quite understand that one. I don't understand what they're doing there. But there is another line that goes over to another pin. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to understand that right now because it doesn't matter. So, yeah. Yeah, but this looks perfect for punch out. So in theory, I should be able to just put the Super Punch Out EEPROMs in it and everything, and it should work just fine. And now I believe it will work just fine because I had that stupid mod done on here because I wasted my time. That's what I did. I wasted my time. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back to Super Punch Out. And hopefully we're good to go. Okay, now I have it completely switched over to Super Punch Out. I've got all my Punch Out ROMs out of it. And it is just completely wrong. Colors are wrong, that's for sure. Now for the top monitor, I can try switching the palette around by putting 158s right here, and that will flip the color palette for the top monitor. So I'll try that and see what the top monitor looks like after doing that. Let me grab a couple 158s and throw in there. Yeah, so I just remembered that I had swapped 157s into this so that it would match my punch-out set. But it needed the 158s for super punch-out because of the way that these are programmed. And the top monitor is now colored correct, but I don't know about the graphics. Yeah, see, that's still all scrambled up. And it should not be. And the fact that this works properly as a punch out kind of just tells me that this has to be that security card. I'm going to flip it back to the bottom monitor and see what it looks like. Yeah, this is the bottom monitor, and it's just got issues. Number one, it's got color palette issues, and that's just that's just the bipolar ROMs. So this was a hodgepodge together board set. But I honestly believe that that security card has a bad part on it or something. And it's causing the graphics to be bad on the bottom monitor and the top monitor with that scrambled picture. You can see the video board's fine. I know that this whole board set's fine because it works fine as a punch out. And the only thing that is different on this board is that security card. So that has to be the problem, and I can't fix that. But I think someone did reproduce those. I think you might be able to get one. But I honestly believe that that is the issue with this. I'm going to look into, can you get those reproduction cards? I think you can. But as you remember, I said that one of the bottom monitor bipolar ROMs was a different version. And you can see you have two version 2s and then a version 1. So these are mixed and matched. Colors on the top monitor are fine. Yeah, and it's not a ROM issue. I know the ROMs are all good. Yeah. I'm convinced it's a security card issue. Yeah, so I don't know. But I'm going to look into that. Can you get those security cards? And I might have to do that. I'll be back. All right. I spoke to the owner of this board set, and he has ordered from Mike's Arcade, the authority for everything Nintendo, as well as other things, a new security card. and is being shipped right to me. So I'm going to take this, just kind of put it aside until we get the newer security card and pick up from there, and we can mess with the colors and make sure colors are right and everything from that. And this is not correct. These colors are not right, but I don't want to mess with the color proms or anything until I get a proper security card in this thing. So I'm going to set it aside, and we'll pick up back when that shows up. Today is Monday, so it should be a handful of days I should see it. And we'll jump right back to this. Well, back to the super punch out. I got the security card brand new, put it in, and it did the exact same thing. So customer now does have an extra one of these, so he's actually happy about that anyway. So it's not the security card. This is purely a ROM issue. I put the punch out ROMs back in this thing, and I'm on the lower monitor, and the lower monitor looks perfect. We have a bad socket right here. Yeah. So I just have to remember this socket needs to be replaced right here. Yeah. So that's okay, and that's with my regular punch out ROMs. Now I've burnt punch out ROMs, regular old EPROMs for right here. I'll guarantee you these are not the same files. This is an alternate set of ROMs. What is different between maybe 02 back PCB and the 01 PCB? The ROM files are different. What else is different? I'm going to have to look and find out what else is different on this to make the ROMs, the table in the ROMs, inverse. Because I believe that's what's going on here. And I only have one set of these two for Super Punch Out. I don't have an alternate set that basically inverts the ROM table. So I want to look at the hardware, and for the upper monitor, for the addressing to the ROM or something is inverted maybe. I don't know. I'm going to look and see if I can do it through hardware instead of software. But I don't think so. I mean, are some of these 367s 368s? Maybe these 257s are 258s? I really don't know. It might, I don't know. I don't know. This is weird because it should, different ROM sets are used in different boards. It's very strange. I don't know. I'm gonna continue to do some research, but I think this is purely a software issue. If I go now, let's go up to the top monitor, and this is with this set of punch-out ROMs. And with the punch-out software and everything, it works fine. But this is what it looks like with Super Punch-Out. The top monitor, this is perfect. See, everything, it's like everything that is used in both Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out, exactly the same, comes up right. This has got a little bit of difference. because it's not exactly the same between punch out and super punch out. It can't be. And like the bottom is now correct. Of course, the two characters are wrong, and everywhere else that there might be differences between super punch out and punch out are now wrong, because the program is controlling the video hardware of where to put parts on the monitor, right? So the program's different between punch out and super punch out, so of course the video is going to be a little different. Yeah, I don't know, it's got to be just it's just a ROM issue. It's got to be. So I'm going to see if I can look up and find a different set of software to put in here, because I burnt these off of regular old, these are CHP1 punch out. These two don't change between punch out and super punch out, and I burnt these as just regular old punch out files, and they are not the same as this because I do not get the same thing. Remember, with these in the board, the bottom monitor, the background on the bottom monitor is completely messed up. Yeah, so I don't know, it's very strange. So unless I can find the proper files for right here, there's nothing I can do about it, because I don't have these files. So let me see what I can dig up. Well, this is extremely interesting. I'm trying to dump these ROMs. I dumped all of my punch out ROMs. I dumped these ROMs because I want to compare these A and B. These ones that work, I wanted to compare them to these ones that don't work. A and B. Are these the same file? I know they're not, but what's different? Is this like a 02 version and these are 01? I don't know. And I'm dumping these, and this one, 4D, that I had reprogrammed with a super punch out file, is blank. Read device into buffer, number 3. And yes, it is now read into the buffer. Now let's go buffer editor. It's all FF. Page down all the way through the ROM. Yeah, this thing's no good. This is a garbage EEPROM, because I erased and reprogrammed this, and now it's just completely blank. So this guy's no good. That one's completely dead. So I do want to still compare, is if I have to re-erase these and program with something else, I don't know. These things just, these are no good, man. These ROMs that were in this are really suspect. So, but I want to compare my A and B to my A and B. Why are they different? What's different about them? And I dumped this one. I'm going to see if this is still even a super punch out ROM, or if it's just going bad. I don't know. So let me figure that out. Alright, well, super punch out. I've got it all put together with new standoffs, nice new standoffs. So the board set is good to go. I tested all the sounds. I did it off camera, all the sounds, and I tested all of the control inputs. So this thing is working 100% except for this. And it has to be EEPROMs. It has to be a version of the EEPROM, because this board set, this very board set, as it is, if I just take the punch out, regular punch out software and put into this, it works 100% perfect as a punch out. So there, it just has to be the data in the ROM is arranged a little bit different. Has to be. I don't see what else it could be. Because if it was doing the same thing with punch out, if it was not the software and it was the board, it'd do the same thing with punch out. I would say. I would think. Yeah, but other than that, it works perfectly. It's just that scrambled graphics. So I did tell the owner of this board that I'm going to keep a lookout for an alternate set of back PCB EPROMs. Yeah, you know what I should do? My computer is down right now. What I should do is try running this in the MAME debugger, with the very ROMs that I have on here. You know what? I'm going to do that. It might take me a while to set that up, but I'm going to do that and see what it looks like. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that will work because I don't think that'll tell me anything because MAME uses a different version of the hardware. Because these ROMs weren't even in MAME. So that's really not going to help me out. Yep. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to wrap this one up. I'm going to keep my eye out for punch out, super punch out ROMs for that board. And if you have any suggestions, if you have any thoughts, leave comments down below. Because I'm convinced that it has to be ROM. That the data is just arranged different in the ROM than the ROM that I have. And when it's, you know, blitting the screen, that's what it's doing. It's picking, you know, those pixels, and that's how it's arranging them from the ROM. Yeah. Alrighty. Anyway, have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching. And thanks to all of my Patreon supporters for helping the channel and giving me a hand with what I do here. Shout out time to all the Patreons. Thank you. And see you on the next Classic Arcade Repair. Bye for now, guys. Addendum, addendum, addendum. Okay, I was just thinking how I was going to do this. I'm just going to add it on to the end of the video. I figured it out. I have MAME version 244 and I have MAME version 140. 140 only has one revision of Super Punch-Out. I went through my 244 MAME files and there's two revisions of Super Punch-Out. But there are, it's so weird. There's a revision A and a revision B. And then there's another set, and I don't even know what that is, of these back ROMs, of these two, and these two alone. And what I found is there's a set of these, which I believe is a straight invert of the data from the parent set. It's a straight invert, and that's what I was using. Was I was taking the parent set and just straight up inverting it. Okay, and now I found that there is a Super Punch-Out revision A in MAME 244, which is, it is an inverted parent set, but it has like 160 to 170 points of difference in the ROM, in both of them. So that has to be the problem. I knew it had to be software, but I just didn't know where to find them, and they're in MAME all along. So I am right now erasing these again, just those two. Give it about 15 minutes, they'll be erased, and then I'm going to reprogram them with those particular files. And that should clear it up. So I'll come back after I get them all erased and reprogrammed, and yeah, we'll see. Okay, just fired it up. Got those two programmed with the new files, erased and reprogrammed again. And let's see what happens. I have not seen if this works yet. Couple more screens. And another screen. After this screen, we'll see if it worked. There you go. There it is. Excellent. Holy crap. ROM issues. I knew it was a ROM issue. I'll try to explain why I knew it was a ROM issue, and maybe it'll help you out. I'm going to set the camera up on the tripod. Okay, if we look at the schematic, now this may sound stupid because I'm not really good at explaining this. I got a picture of it in my head of what I'm looking for, but it's kind of hard to relay it. Okay, addressing is the CPU dumps data into RAM for addressing the ROM, and it's clocked into and addresses the ROM. The ROM spits out data, and it's shifted, and that creates these 4 bits here. Then those bits are muxed and sent through this circuitry and out through the color palette. So look at it this way. The hardware creates a canvas, and then that same canvas is colored through the color palette. That canvas makes its way out, it picks up a color and goes out to the screen. So if you've got, like we had, everything looked good except for those 2 portraits of the players, of the opponents, it just means that the canvas was messed up. And the canvas is derived from the RAM addressing the ROM. Now, and I knew that the CPU side of things was fine. I knew that the RAM was fine. I actually had replaced this RAM because I can't test this RAM. I was kind of just desperate and pulling my hair out, like maybe this RAM it works for punch out but not for super punch out. And when you can't figure something out, you do stupid stuff like that. That makes no logical sense. But I removed that and replaced it anyway, because this sends these bits up to address those 2 RAM. So I was like, well, I'll replace that, see what happens. Didn't make a difference. It didn't make a change, even though I knew it wouldn't make a change, because this worked perfectly as a punch out. I knew that all of this circuitry was good. I know that my color palette is good because I checked them in my reader. I know all of this circuitry is good because it worked with punch out ROMs. So I knew it had to be ROM. It had to be the canvas. And this is where the canvas is created. And then that canvas is colored through the palette. So, yeah. And that was it. It was those ROMs. Well, guys, my battery is going to croak. So, it's going to do it. Shout out to all the patrons. Thank you all for the support. I superly appreciate it. And we got 100% here. And the sounds, all the controls work perfectly as well. So this one is 100%. All right, guys. Yeah, you got to keep an eye out. Watch out for those punch-out EPROMs because they'll trick you up. They will totally mess you up. So, all right. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye for now.